friends, welcome to iExamB's Law channel Legal P. In this video, I am going to answer some of the very common queries related to law syllabus of SEBI legal exam. As per the dates given by Sushil sir, the phase 1 exam is on 27, 28 or 29th of January and the phase 2 exam is expected in the month of February on 24th, 25th or 26th of February. Now moving to the most common questions relating to law syllabus. First is the mentioned syllabus enough? The SEBI legal notification PDF clearly gives the syllabus for law both for phase 1 and phase 2 and also defines weightage of each act. So many students have queries whether the mentioned syllabus is enough or not. Should we also read SEBI regulations? In the Securities Law, SEBI Act, SCRA and Depositories Act is mentioned. The next common query is, do we have to read SEBI regulations for these law paper? The next one is, how many questions were there from each act? And do we have to study case laws? Were there any case laws in the exam? If I answer in brief these queries, the mentioned syllabus is indeed enough. There is no need to read the SEBI regulations for phase 1 and phase 2. You may be asked questions from SEBI regulations in interview. So you can go through the SEBI regulations after phase 2. How many questions were there from each act? That we will be discussing in the upcoming slides. And do we have to study case laws? No. In the past 2 years, there was not even a single question from case laws. Moving to the pattern. In phase 1, there are two papers. Paper 1 is QRE-GA. Paper 2 is law. Both are MCQ based. Overall, you need 80 marks out of 200 in phase 1 to appear for phase 2. In paper 1, a minimum of 30 marks. In paper 2, a minimum of 40 marks. And overall, a minimum of 80 marks. And you will appear for phase 2. In phase 2, there are two papers. Paper 1 is descriptive English, in which there will be essay, comprehension and précis writing. And paper 2 is legal, that is law, again MCQ types. The weightage 1/3 and 2/3 is also given for paper 1 and paper 2. In my previous videos, I have already discussed the relevance of these weightages. So if you want to understand this, go through the cutoff analysis video. The syllabus of paper 2, law paper, is clearly mentioned in the notification. For phase 1, these are the areas from which you can expect questions. From Constitution of India, from various parts that are mentioned, and it holds a weightage of 10%. That means 5 questions out of total 50 questions. From Law of Contracts, which includes Indian Contract Act and Specific Relief Act, again 10% weightage, 5 questions. Then from Criminal Law, Law of Evidence, Code of Civil Procedure, you can expect 7 to 8 questions, so on and so forth. Similarly, in phase 2, the weightage is also clearly given. From Constitution of India, few more parts are added. Again, it holds a weightage of 10%, that is 5 questions. If you see, Companies Act and Securities Law hold a much higher weightage both in phase 1 and phase 2. In phase 1, each holds 15% weightage, and in phase 2, each holds 20% weightage. So you can prepare keeping these in mind. Let's move on to see how many questions came from each act. The Constitution of India holds a weightage of 10%, and as per syllabus, 5 questions are expected in this exam. In 2020 phase 1, paper 2, there were 8 or 9 questions from Constitution of India. In phase 2, there were 6 questions. In 2022, there were 3 and 6 questions respectively in phase 1 and phase 2, where there were 5 questions expected. The areas from which the question came is shown on the screen. You can pause the screen here and you can check out the topics from which the questions came in the past 2 years. In 2020 phase 1, there was 1 question from preamble, adoption date, implementation date, part 1, which is amendment to the state boundaries, then from part 6, section 170 and so on. So here you can pause the video and check out the important sections from which the questions came in the previous 2 years. Law of Contracts hold a weightage of 10%. As per the syllabus, 5 questions were expected, and in 2020 there were 7 and 8 questions in phase 1 and phase 2. And in 2022, there were 8 and 5 questions in phase 1 and phase 2 respectively. Again, I have mentioned the topics from which the questions came. You can pause, you can check out the important sections, you can check out the important topics from which the questions came in the previous 2 years. Moving to the criminal and procedural laws, they hold a weightage of 15%, and as per the syllabus, in phase 1, 7 to 8 questions were expected. In phase 2, these topics hold a weightage of 10%, so only 5 questions were expected. And in 2020 phase 1, 5 questions came. In 2020 phase 2, 4 questions came. However, in 2022, the number of questions were slightly increased from these areas. In phase 1, there were 10 questions, and in phase 2, there were 6 questions. I have also attached this PPT in the description below. So you can download the PPT, and from there you can mark the important sections or important topics from which the questions came. In 2020 phase 1, from CRPC, there was 1 question from cognizable offence and another from number of criminal courts established in India. From IPC, there was 1 question from kinds of punishments. From CPC, there were 2, one from mesne profits, another from resistance to execution. So you can check out these important areas and you can mark them in your web racks or in your notes. I'm again mentioning you can download this PPT from the description below. The next topic is admin law, jurisprudence, legal maxims. These topics hold a weightage of 20% in phase 1 and 10% in phase 2, meaning thereby 10 questions are expected in phase 1 and 5 questions in phase 2. In 2020 phase 1, there were 7-8 questions from this area. In phase 2, there were only 2 questions. In phase 1 of 2022, there was only 1 question, and in phase 2, there were only 3 questions. So as per the weightage given, the number of questions that came from these areas have relatively been less in the previous year exams. Moving to the next topic, that is torts, arbitration and transfer of property. The 4 topics including law of trust hold a weightage of 15% in phase 2 and law of trust is not present in phase 1. The rest of the 3 topics hold a weightage of 15% in phase 1. So expected number of questions are 7 to 8. In phase 1, 2020, there were 6 questions. In 2020 phase 2, 7. And in 2022, in phase 1 and 2, there were 5 and 8 questions respectively, keeping very close to the weightage mentioned. These are the topics from which the questions came. Soon I am going to start a series related to the previous year questions, where I will be discussing in detail what were the questions that were framed, that were structured from these topics. So subscribe to our Legal Bee YouTube channel and stay tuned with such relevant content. I will also give you certain important questions from any particular act in that video series. The next topic is Companies Act, which hold a weightage of 15% in phase 1 and 20% in phase 2. In phase 2, few more topics are added. LLP and IBC is also added. As per the syllabus, in phase 1, 7 to 8 questions are expected, and in phase 2, 10 questions are expected. The number of questions that came in 2020, phase 1 and phase 2 were 8 each, and in 2022, the number of questions were increased. In phase 1 only, there were 16 questions from Companies Act, and in phase 2, there were 13 questions from Companies Act, LLP, IBC, etc. Here again, you can see all the important sections from which the question came over the past 2 years. Moving to the next topic, that is Securities Law, which includes 3 acts, SEBI Act, SCRA and Depository Act. This holds a weightage of 15% in phase 1 and 20% in phase 2. As per the syllabus, we are expecting 7 to 8 questions in phase 1 and 10 questions in phase 2. And in reality, actually in 2020, the number of questions that came in phase 1 were 9, 12 in phase 2, and in 2022 there were 6 questions each in phase 1 and phase 2. At iExamB, we have started a new batch of SEBI Grade A Legal 2023 from 1st of September, and the classes are going to start from tomorrow, that is 6th of September. This is a 100 days class schedule. You can download the class schedule from the description below, and you can see within these 100 days all the subjects, all the topics will be covered in the classes starting from 6th of September till 19th of December. The exam is expected in the last week of January. Thus, preparing with us and following this class schedule will give you ample time to cover up the syllabus and then give you enough time for revision and for attempting a lot of mock tests. Hurry up, the classes are going to start from tomorrow. If you are interested, you can reach out to us on this number mentioned on the screen. Now continuing with the securities law, these are the areas from which questions came in securities law. The next topic is taxation, which is present only in phase 2 and holds a weightage of 5%. That means 1 or 2 questions are expected in phase 2. In 2020 phase 2 exam there was 1 question. In 2022 phase 2 exam there were 2 questions from taxation. In 2020 the question was related to the definition of capital asset, which is given in section 2 subsection 14 of Income Tax Act, and in 2022 there were 2 questions, one from capital gains tax and another from the definition of vertical equity, which is a principle of taxation. In phase 2 in both the years, in 2020 phase 2 there were 2 questions which were from out of the syllabus, and in 2022 there was 1 question. The first question was related to qualification of judicial member of Central Administrative Tribunal. Since this act is not mentioned in the syllabus, so this was an area from out of the syllabus. Another question was related to the fall of hammer, with which is this term associated, which is given in Sale of Goods Act, section 64, which talks about auction sale. So these were the 2 questions that were not in the syllabus. In 2022, there was 1 question from section 8 of General Clauses Act 1897. Very less number of questions which were from out of the syllabus, and thus this is a domain which cannot be predicted. So I will advise you to stick to the syllabus, to revise it again and again, to go through the previous year papers and check out the type of questions that came in the exam. You can download the 2020 and 2022 previous year papers from the description below. Subscribe to our Legal Bee YouTube channel. This is your one-stop solution for all legal exams. You will find all the relevant content, all the relevant information relating to notifications, preparation strategies, study plans, previous year papers at this Legal Bee YouTube channel. iExamBee helps you unfold your potential. So make the best use of courses that iExamBee offers and be well prepared for your exams and get your dream job. You can write your queries in the comment box below. You can reach out to us at hello@iexambee.com. You can also call us on this number if you have any queries related to any course, related to any upcoming exam. Thank you.